friends, welcome to Kelly Does Stuff. Today I have the best tip for designing your Christmas village display or Halloween or any type of village that you want to create. So this is the designing. You're going to use styrofoam or other materials. Now I'm gonna agree with you. It feels like a bold statement to say the best, really the best. Now I'm not saying that this is like the best tip of all time. It's my best tip that I have for you when designing a display because it's been incredibly helpful for me. So I'm gonna say it's the best. And then if I think of another tip at some point, maybe I'll call that one the best. I don't know, but I think this one is really, really good. It's super simple. You're gonna need a couple materials, which I'll get into in just a second. Now, this is about those of us when we get to that point. I mean, it feels inevitable that we are gonna start to go big time elaborate with our displays. We've got levels, we've got mountains and roads and caves and rivers and lakes, and we've got a whole bunch of stuff going on in our display that we're going to be creating, and then we want to make sure that our pieces have room, that they're integrated really well. So that's what this is about. And then of course we know that the more elaborate we get in our displays, the longer those are going to take. We've got carving and painting, we might be doing plastering. I mean, who knows what our amazing creative minds are going to come up with, right? So we might start working on our Christmas display in the summer. And we may not want to have all of these pieces out as we are in those initial stages for design. And sometimes that can take us a minute, right? We're moving pieces around. We have to think about what goes where. We thought we liked it there, but then as we got into it, no, we want to test a piece somewhere else. And we might not want these pieces out all year long. I don't know, maybe we do. The other thing is, as we move our pieces so many times, we risk breaking them. I collect Limax in Department 56, but I'm sure that this applies to all types of villages. They're really fragile. And we might be in the middle of creating and we're thinking about a bunch of different things and we just go and grab this piece and something breaks off. This piece is a perfect example of that with these little doors here. We might just really harshly and enthusiastically grab it by the door and break it off. We've got a little fences on these pieces. That could happen every time we're moving stuff. Sometimes I'm nervous I'm gonna do it now. If we've got a piece here and we just kind of want to move this piece over there, we're distracted or we're excited and we move this piece and we hit the top of this and we break something up. Just the more we're kind of messing around with our pieces, the greater the chance that we're gonna break something. So that's why this tip is so great. And again, it's not about the number of pieces you have, although the more pieces you have, the more helpful this tip even comes into play. But it's about the pieces that you have and then that elaborate display that you're gonna make. I'm gonna put this over here. For those who are curious, this is Department 56, their North Pole series. And I went ahead and took out some of the pieces for what we're gonna do. So simple. Okay, what do you need? You need some paper. I use copy paper, pen or pencil. I recommend pencil, I'll tell you why. Scissor, myself in the face, and then some sort of measuring device. All we're gonna do, woohoo, here we go. Let's start with this one. We'll do it this way. We're gonna trace. We're just tracing our pieces. Now, this is why I use a pencil, because we wanna get close up and trace the pieces, and I don't wanna get any pen marks. Whatever color pen, I don't want it on my piece. So that's why I use this pencil, and you know what? It does not have to be perfect. So I'm gonna take this off, and I don't know, what is the name of this piece? So then what I do is write Northern Lights, Power. That's the name of the piece. And these pieces are super funky. So I'm going to indicate this is the front of my piece here. So I'm gonna write front. So that way I know, because when I look at this piece by itself, I mean, this could be any shape, any size, and blah, blah, blah. All right, so this is the shape of our piece. Then the next thing we do with our measuring, we are going to measure the tallest point, and I mean the tallest. So if you've got a piece like this, if you're, again, familiar with Lemax and Department 56, they often have a lot of little detail things that you add into, that'll go in there, into the piece. So when you store it, you take them off, and then when you put them up, they're gonna be part of it. A lot of times they are little signs or lights, but they often have things up here on the top. So I always measure the tippy top. So for our Northern Lights piece, I will go, it looks like it's 7, it's hard because it's round, maybe 7 1/4, 7 1/2. If I don't know for sure, I'm gonna put 7 1/2. And so then I write 7.5 inches, and then I write H. So I do the height. So basically what I want is the size of this piece. We're gonna cut it out. Okay, there we have it. So that is this piece. And I'm gonna tell you, it looks small. I don't even trust my measurements, it is. I will even cut outside my lines a little bit. I'd rather it be bigger than too short. So this is going to help me. I'm gonna do this for every single one of my pieces that's going to be in that display, or at least the section of the display. If you've got a massive display, you might have different areas that you're working on at different times. So I'm gonna cut all of these out. And then this will help us when we are designing and thinking, okay, I want this piece to go in the back, and then this piece is gonna kind of be at an angle. Instead of moving all of our buildings around, we're just moving our pieces of paper that represent our displays. And then the height is important because maybe this is gonna go into some sort of cave, and we're gonna like build something, and then we only built our cave to 6 inches, and this is 7 1/2. And then it can also help us with layering our pieces. Maybe we wanted, typically I have smaller pieces in the front of my display, but maybe this looks like, I mean, this said it's the shed, but maybe we have some cottage, and the cottages are gonna be higher up in the mountains, and this is the town, and so even though it's taller, it's gonna be lower. What we wanted, see, I just bumped it. If this is 7 1/2 inches, we wanna know that, because if we had our styrofoam here, this is completely blocking it. So we might say, you know what, I want the platform back here to be up 6 inches, 8 inches. Maybe I want full and total clearance. So that's why I do the height. The height helps. So I'm gonna go ahead, we're gonna cut all these out. One thing I thought of this year, I wonder if the dimensions are on the box. And they are, at least for North Pole. I didn't check them all, but check your boxes of whatever you collect. So it does have 7 1/2 by 4 1/2 by 7. And what I did, 7 1/2. So I did test a couple of these because I'm like, I don't know which one they're talking about first. I mean, you know, some of them could be obvious if this was 12 inches. But like for this one, it's like 4 1/2 by 5 1/2 by 5. It looks like for the North Pole, they go height first. So we could know that that's our top. And then we could do 4 1/2 by 7. Is this getting chaotic? Let's rewind it. If you don't want to take your pieces out, check the height. Check the dimension on your box. See if it has dimensions. If you're not sure what they're listing first, you might want to take one out and see, okay, they do height, length, width. And you can create your pieces without taking them out. Now, the thing that you'll lose is the exact shape, but honestly, that works out for me, and I'll often do that. So what I might do if I didn't have this, I might just, you know, get the dimensions on the box and at least just kind of make a square. I still have my height. I write the name on it, and then I just cut this out. So at least I have something that represents the shape of that piece. I know, and the big thing here, it's not necessarily so much about the shapes. It can get kind of funky if you've got a piece that juts out really far, but that's always why I'll give myself some clearance. So if I'm designing a platform, I want to have enough room that I've got room anyway in the back for some trees behind the house or the building. I know I'm going to add a fence or a road or a figurine. So typically I'm giving myself clearance on all sides anyway. I'm not making it super tight, but you want obviously you're gonna want your platform at least to be this size or your piece isn't gonna fit on there. So this is also a great strategy to just cut a dimension shape, a square, a rectangle, whatever it might be, even if you don't have this, if you're planning for future pieces. So maybe this year you're like, I have 3 North Pole pieces, but next year I'm gonna have 6. I'm doubling it, and I'm gonna design my platform for those 6 pieces. I'm gonna put my 3, but I know 6 are coming. I don't have those pieces yet. You can go online, see what those dimensions are, and then you just kind of make little shapes big enough that you can at least get an idea for planning. Did that make sense? Who knows? All right. So that could be an option if you don't want to actually take all your pieces out, if that just seems like a lot, because taking them in and out, it's like the most not fun part of this. I would recommend maybe if you've got them out this year before you're putting them away, just trace them. I'm trying to do that with as many pieces as possible, so when I get to the point that I want to do a display, I have them. So let's go ahead and trace all of these, and we'll get into a little bit about how we can use them for our display. Right, we have all of our pieces here, so this is just going to be so helpful for us to rearrange things. And you will see that I often cut outside the line. It's not super scientific, and I know I'm going to give myself extra room. I'd always rather have extra room anyway, so I don't get real pretty in my cutting. This is just a guide for me. Now, you might say, well, what's the point in saying the front if you're gonna cut outside of it anyway? But you might want to, for a piece like this, you might be interested in knowing that this is something that is on the front, which is this piece here, versus a piece that juts out the back, because maybe you have a path that you're gonna do. So you have a path that you wanna come up and you want it to end right here. So, and as you do this, you might note some other things that you wanna note on your cutouts or things that you don't need on there. But this is just something that I have used a lot. So speaking of other things you might wanna note, this technique really came in handy for me the past couple years with my Halloween Village as that became huge and I was creating displays for different sections. So I wasn't gonna be working with everything all at once. And here's my fantastic list. Don't be deceived in thinking that I'm in any kind of organized. But this is what I started doing last year. And this is a perfect example. Oh, no, I did cut that out? I don't know. So this is a perfect example of just how I would make something just square. I just knew this is for Halloween. And I just made it square if I didn't have, once again, I just made it, this is the general shape. I didn't have the pieces yet, but I was planning for them. So speaking of things, if you start to have different sections, maybe you've got 30 pieces and you're building a display for 30 pieces, but you've got cottages, and then you've got the town, and then maybe you have the ski area, and you're gonna wanna work on those sections separately. What I do is then code them. All right, so for example, I have ST. So one of the sections of my Halloween display is Spooky Town. So I will put all of my ST pieces together. This is TTL, Trick or Treat Lane. And then, let's see. Oh, I've got the carnival section. So in here, I actually, when I organize, this is Trick or Treat Lane, it's all empty, most of them are here, but here are carnival pieces. So I will cut out all of the shapes or general idea of my pieces, and then to organize them, I have little folders, and then I just keep these in just a drawer that's easily accessible. Don't store this away with your pieces because the whole point is if you want to create in the off season. And clearly I need to get more organized for Halloween. For my North Pole series, it's not yet big enough that I don't think I'm gonna do like the downtown or I might kind of organize it that way, but I don't know that I'm gonna label anything extra yet. But you can code these, and you could do stickers or colors or anything that's really gonna help you. So when you say, okay, I wanna work on the cottage area, I'm gonna grab all of my cottage pieces and I don't need any of these, I'm not gonna worry about them, and I'm gonna design with that. So that's just another organizational tip. And again, please don't be deceived. That's about as organized as I get. And it's only because it helps me design. I don't organize. I'm a mess. Let's get some styrofoam and just kind of see how we might play around with this. All right, I just grabbed some random styrofoam. This styrofoam I actually use in the Dickens Village of my display. And I hope that you guys will tune in the coming weeks. I am going to, for the first time, design a display for my North Pole Village. The past couple years, I've done the display just simple. I've just kind of done a couple different levels and haven't really done the whole, like, I've got ideas. We'll see how far I get. I want to do bridges and maybe ice castles and a pond and gumdrop forest, and we'll see. It's November. This is something I really should work on in the off season. But anyway, I wanted to do a series on how I design a display from the beginning, one that's like an epic display. So I don't want to get too much into that today because this will be the world's longest video, but I just want to show you a little bit how you could do this. So let's just say you've got your foam that you want, and all right, so maybe you wanted 2 levels. You're like, cool, I'm going to do 2 levels. And then we find out, oh, I want this here, and then, oh, okay, well, we need something in the front. Maybe we need to add another piece here. Or let's say, you know, once again, we can play around. So we've got, here's our Northern Lights power. We want it here, but then we want another piece. We want this piece right here. And is this going to be enough clearance? So 7.5, this one is 8 inches. It's gonna come up, obviously these aren't the height of them, but we might decide, you know what, this is gonna block. It's gonna block this too much. So I wanna add, we'll grab some more styrofoam. Let me add some more foam. And then the fun thing about this, again, this is kind of getting into display, but once I do this, I'm like, ooh, that fits here. And I sort of like the idea that we've got this, because now we're creating even more depth and dimension. I'm gonna put a little figurine here. I'm gonna carve some stairs. And then we're like, okay, well, I want another piece that's sort of tucked in. I always think it's, the more like things that look like they're tucked into the thing, I just think it adds it's really cool. So I might move stuff around here. I know that I'm gonna need some more, you know, styrofoam over here. But it basically, again, Kelly, don't design the styrofoam. But whatever, you know, whatever your pieces are, you might decide, all right, I want, okay, we've got one here. I know I'm gonna have another layer up here. So I'm gonna have this over here, and then I'm gonna do this here. The other thing that's really wonderful is if you have a smaller space. I mean, honestly, right now, as we're kind of designing this, again, not designing, but you could, I mean, you really could fit, obviously we've got to add a little bit more, but you can add 4 or 5 pieces in a small display. And this could be a great way to help you figure that out without constantly moving those pieces around. So, like, in terms of a design standpoint, as you're designing, you know, you're gonna wanna know the space that you have, but then you're like, no, this piece is too big here. It's gonna look clunky. So in fact, maybe I want this one over here. Oh, that's the front. Oh, so another thing, right? If I put it here, oh no, it doesn't fit. Ah, but it turns this way. So I could put it here. So basically you've got your pieces that you can play around with, all right? So that's just my tip. Create paper. Turn your pieces into flat dimensional, that's a thing. But just flat representations, and then spend time moving the pieces around. Protect your pieces, keep your house a little bit tidier in the off season. Okay guys, that's all I've got for you. I hope that was helpful. I hope it made sense. Some things, you know, make sense in your head, and then you explain it and you're like, that was chaos. nonsense. I mean, I feel like chaos is a given with me, but hopefully it's somewhere in there there's something that makes sense. If you're interested, I hope you are, please consider subscribing to my channel, like this video, share it with 5 or 10 creative friends, and come back soon. I'm really hoping that I will be able to get all of these videos up. I have a lot of designing and creating I want to do for this series, and then it does take me some time to make the videos, so I'm hoping that they're going to be up in time for this holiday season. Thank you guys so much for watching. I look forward to seeing you next time, and happy creating!